Because consumption, even the word consume, that is, in Arabic it's even more powerful, we call consumption istihlak. Literally, the meaning of the word istihlak is you are asking for destruction of yourself. Halak. Halak is, everything dies, everything is destroyed. So istihlak, which is the translation of consumption, is what we really need to unplug ourselves from. If you really look at education, it is the main tool that spreads istihlak, the consumption way of thinking, in the world. It is the very, very powerful and successful tool in two things: control, making this distortion in our minds, and the distortion comes actually from the word progress, the way it was done, and actually destroying life itself. Today I was mentioning something about how the mind accepts certain things that are absurd. The tie that men have. Tie. There is no civilization that convinced its men to wear ties, to be tied like a horse or like a donkey. The only civilization that convinced men and made them proud of is to have ties. And of course, the closer they are to institutions, the more they need ties, because they are tied. And we usually don't even notice it. I mean, for a donkey, no donkey, we don't know of any donkey or horse that ties itself. The only creature that accepts to tie himself. I mean, I wore ties, so I'm talking about myself too, so don't feel. But when I really realized, I started really rethinking all the meaning of words, especially all the words that are connected to progress. I was frightened. I said, again, the idea of the math that I have, is this math for progress? It's doing all these harms. And I still teach it the way I was told to teach it. In Birzeit University, where I was working, when I realized this, I started a course in Birzeit, but Birzeit was still open to you create your own course. You don't just bring it out. And the name of the course was Mathematics in the Other Direction. And students loved it. Teachers didn't know how to deal with it, because it was, no question had one answer. Life does not have one answer. There is nothing in life that has one answer, one meaning. Although the math that is taught in schools and universities, to me, it is the source of fundamentalism in today's world. Fundamentalism did not come out of religions or in politics. Actually, religions and political parties took the spirit of fundamentalism from mathematics and from science. I'm saying awful things about math and science and knowledge, and I'm saying them maybe with not much substantiation now, and I told my personal stories. But all what I ask you to do is actually to rethink everything that was given to you as progress. Rethink it. Rethink it in your life. And to me, rethinking all these things is what I understand personally, part of what I understand about the concept of ijtihad in Islam. Ijtihad is you put an effort to make sense of words, of things in light of your life, in light of your experiences. Don't be handed something and somebody tells you what it means. You have the duty and the right to rethink and to make sense and to make meaning. That's why in 1971, when I first realized many of these things, I said the most important thing for a person to do and for a student, and I started working with students around it, every person is a co-author of meanings. You are not the sole author, but others are not the sole authors. Every person is a co-author of meaning. So choose the words that you use every day, and any word that you did not add to its meaning, or you were not a co-author of its meaning, in my opinion, put it aside, because it might be harmful. Unless you make sense of it, meaning of it, and then if you are happy with that meaning, and in my opinion, it fits the 5 meanings of Yohsin, then it is safe to use it. But what is beautiful also about Imam Ali's statement is there is no universal meaning for it. There is no authority which tells you this is what he meant or this is not. He said it as a principle. And every one of us has to look at that wise statement in a way that makes sense in his or her life. So it is our duty to rethink every word and to try to give meaning of every word. This is what I learned in the 70s, and mainly I learned in my interaction with the world of my mother. When I first started redefining the word mathematics, redefining the word knowledge, realizing the meaning of pluralism of knowledges, which usually is not considered. They talk about pluralism in every way, but not in knowledge. There is only one knowledge, and you either follow it or you are behind. I started realizing the meaning of humility, the importance of humility, because I thought, since I was studying, I studied math and I'm teaching math at universities and schools and so on, so I really reached like the top. So it was an arrogant attitude. So when I realized that the kind of my mother's math is something I cannot even understand, I cannot do. Her math was connected to action, my math was connected to ideology. That taught me humility. That an illiterate woman's knowledge, even if I study in the best universities another 20 years, I can't do it. It's another kind, it's another source, another way of learning, knowing. So all these things I started really relearning and rethinking, and some of them I just dropped. The first Intifada in Palestine, 87 to 91, I saw what was happening, and I decided that giving a grade to a student, for me, became like I'm doing a crime, committing a crime. Since 89, I have not done it. I decided I will stay in education, I will stay in learning, I will stay in relation to knowledge because this is what I know. But I'm going to create as much as possible ways and do things where grades and evaluation through numbers is non-existent in that space that I'm working with. I started really seeing the harm that math has done, which is another story, but there are many stories that have to be just mentioned quickly, and maybe I should really actually stop here and hear from you any comments, any other ways of seeing things than the way I mentioned, and move from there into, again, the discussion that I said, where all of us come out of this discussion more beautiful.